It's definitely not giving you this. Back to reality.
Whatever. Good in the answer system. They're hoping to get years.
Like avocado and.
You're Philly, and you tried to have Philly.
Those are good.
So another one. You wearing? You want to be like dumping the bag, man. We did drips and
Only thing Bengals.
fire. Fire.
Every.
Cauliflower.
It's a different texture to it, doesn't it?
If you didn't know, you wouldn't tell.
Avocado are good. Actually, the potato chips. There's the
Hit and miss.
with salt. Is there like a Himalayan?
The cheese one or whatever is nasty. Man, just took one and threw the bag away. I'm like,
Barbecue's not terrible.
Talk after.
I haven't tried that one. They've been bugging us to do potato and we're like, sign up for 5 years long-term agreement. And we're like, all right.
Okay.
They're not very far off.
I just felt that way. It's cool.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
Is it the same thing? The same.
I can tell y'all.
So
Screw it up. I mean, it's. The
Yeah, I was like, I'm
scenery is on.
you already said that.
Change the.
I got
comfort.
extra credit.
Part of it, because of the way you use them, we have to get is what freedom and stuff like that, but
It did happen.
yeah, we're excited. They're coming up. So we already got 2 items in there.
Good seeing you,
So much going on.
Clutch. Gross.
Some hitting week 6 and then so we're like, you know,
See, maybe
let's
the-
go.
No, I don't want fun.
They're gonna be 20 a week.
Yes.
Product.
My correct.
I don't know what else it's at. You can imagine. On them out. Get them once and then imagine the reviews are not good either.
talking like, you buy the goods items and so you see truffle, Gouda flavor. But so many of them are like out there, it's like repeat.
Get on the Action Alley this morning and they've got a whole side of the bake center. with all kinds of stuff. You go. Yeah, one of them.
Oh, wow.
They had all kinds of like seasoning, all kinds of stuff, so.
Say, like.
I know what goes into them. That's the reason I'm okay to try a few things here and there. And we've. The cauliflower. Okay, at best. Now they've got the rising rust one and I want to try it. I just haven't had a chance.
I thought the price point for what I typically buy is higher.
Yeah. So it's hard to make people switch something.
That's why you can actually.
The reason we went to the flavors we did,
They're like that again.
Gotta be differentiated.
we knew we weren't gonna get it.
Right, not it. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I just got lost.
Yeah.
Like, just wait.
Now, you don't have to pay anything, do you? Huh?
Sometimes I'm just like, give me a minute, I'm slow.
Those.
I tried to make you a cup of coffee. I thought maybe.
Risa.
They saw us a cup of.
Oh, yeah. That's what I was like. I've seen for the water to eat. Didn't have time.
All right. You guys ready?
Never. I just left. Dawn didn't make it on.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started this evening. Call the Centerton Board of Zoning Adjustments to order for February 4th, 2025 with a roll call.
Brandon Swoboda,
Here.
Tony Davis, Ben Lewis, Ron Sessoms,
Here.
Mike Langford, Devin Murphy, Joey Engel, Jeff Safar.
Here as well. As you heard, John's going to join us remote tonight, so thanks, John, for jumping on. First thing on the agenda this evening is a variance request, number 2501 for a Walmart Supercenter. Parking space reduction from 786 to 769. It's at the southeast corner of South Main and Centerton Boulevard. It is zone C2, 33 acres. Well, first of all.
Jeff, I need to recuse myself from discussion of this.
Yep, thank you, John.
And me as well.
And Devin is recusing as well. So is the applicant here to give us an overview of what you're requesting? Close your eyes, John.
I can unpromote you.
It's all right. Go ahead.
Good evening, I'm Candace Anderson, CEI Engineering, on behalf of our client Walmart Real Estate Business Trust. Respectfully, request your favorable condition or consideration of a parking count variance for the significant development project. This request is for a minor parking variance, reducing the required spaces from 786 to 769, centering on preserving the intent of the zoning ordinance while addressing exceptional site circumstances. While economic hardship alone is insufficient justification for variance, the unique confluence of pre-existing physical constraints, including wetlands, storm drainage infrastructure, and critical utility easements, this creates an exceptional situation not shared by most properties in our district. These constraints severely restrict the developable area, making strict adherence to the parking ordinance impractical and hindering the site's potential for reasonable development. That's creating a hardship within the district from a purely financial one. This variance request is not about avoiding financial burdens, but about enabling a project that local zoning intent. Also, by granting this variance, it will preserve the property rights of my client, allowing for reasonable use of the land, a right commonly afforded to other properties within the same zoning district. The unique site constraints create a situation where a literal interpretation of the parking ordinance would unjustly deprive the client of this right. Critically, the proposed reduction in parking spaces will not create a substantial detriment to adjacent properties, material impair, or contrary to the purpose and spirit of the zoning ordinance of the public interest. This project, even with the parking permitted use, designed to ensure safe and efficient and circulation of traffic. The variance also allows for a reasonable and appropriate development that respects the site's limitations, aligns with the zoning district's intent, and serves the public interest by enabling productive land without detriment to the surrounding area. So we respectfully request your approval of this variance. This project aligns with the city's goals, plans, and policies, and we believe it offers significant benefits to the community. And we appreciate your support on this matter.
Kayla, would you like to give us a staff overview, please?
Yeah, so this applicant is proposing a Walmart Supercenter and fuel station at the southeast corner of Centerton Boulevard and South Main Street, right behind the existing McDonald's. They're requesting a reduction of 17 parking spaces from the required 786 for the Walmart Supercenter. The large-scale development plans have been submitted and are under staff review contingent on the decisions here made tonight. Before you guys go through the 5 facts of finding, I did want to bring up one item that I believe should be discussed, which is parking lot landscaped islands. Per Title 12, which is the tree board, you guys have the ability to review landscape plans and require landscaping, including landscaped parking lot islands. And typically for commercial developments, you guys require a landscaped island every 10 to 12 parking spaces to break up the proverbial sea of parking. And I listed some examples in your guys' packets for you of other commercial developments in the city. So for your consideration, does this development need to provide that landscape parking islands? And if yes, at what ratio? if you guys determine that they do need to provide landscaped islands more than what they already show on their plan, the variance request will have to be amended and re-notification to the public may be required. That has a big impact on. Do you want me to go through the facts of finding or? will you go?
I will go through them in just a second. Sorry. So walk me through the parking lot islands that you guys are, that they're proposing, sorry.
North and south, nothing in between. 30, 36. Let Kayla do it.
The math,
No, let's just look at the parking lot.
okay, you want me to tell you how many are run, but.
Frankly, that was a big miss at the neighborhood market. I think they should be required here.
They do have some at the ends of their,
Well, what Kayla mentioned was breaking up every 10 spaces.
12, yeah.
Still allowed to speak.
Sure.
By adding the required or suggested parking lot islands, this actually creates even more minimization of this site. We have, if you don't mind blowing up and showing the entire site, we have the overhead electric. So the location of the building, the footprint itself is very close to the overhead electric easement and adjacent to existing wetlands that we have to maintain out of that location. We do have a 404 permit already in hand. In conjunction with our utility routing, it's been a very complex design process. And one thing I would like to also emphasize is our landscaping design. We have put in extra landscaping design around the sizable lot.
You also have 4.5 acres to the north that are outlots that could be parking areas. So I think the hardships of, let me be frank, I don't mind the reduction in the parking space personally. I think that's a ton of stalls and I don't think 16 or however many you're asking for is gonna make or break the deal. But I do think the interior landscaping is important. And I think there's room on the site to do that. Just looking at the site plan. This is something that we've been requiring on our all large scales. We have the code written. We've been, implementing that for over a year now. So personally, again, just speaking for me, that's something I would like to see. I think it's a net benefit over the reduction in stalls.
Yeah, I'd second that.
So you done the math if we were to require them?
Your parking counts, some you have, is that employee, like some of the dashed lines? Is that in addition to the other number that's listed in the solid circle?
With the dash line.
I'm looking at a different sheet. I'm looking on the site plan.
Dash line.
So it's your parking callouts. Some are dashed. I think that represents employee parking. Like if you go to the big parking lot in the front, the northern ones are dashed. I'm trying to figure out if your main parking count, like one that says 30, is that indicative of the entire row, or is it 30 customer stalls and like 16 or 18
That
employees?
is the entire room.
It's the entire row. So there would be 3. If we go with 10, who they losing that row? They're broken up.
Broken out.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's social. Add them together, that's the total parking.
Yes.
And it looks like you're counting the cart corral as a parking stall as well, correct?
And then the site analysis chart, yes.
Like, I said, I don't have a problem with that. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Brandon, what are your thoughts? I
mean, I agree.
Willing to give up parking spots? And that's gonna be the trade-off potentially.
Rather than going 10, you go 12 spots. It's just throwing one parked island in the middle of all of those. Have a row of parked islands in the middle. I think there's some that are like 23 wide. So you did one every 12.
No, there's definitely some that are over 40, 46.
And so they're 23 on each side. So if you'd be losing one in the middle. You have 12 on the south side and 11 on that island.
I'm on 10 personally.
So
That's
I was
what
looking at you.
That's what we've always said.
If you do 12 though, you look at that, what's there. You lose 28 in the center section of it. 2, 3 on the top. I mean, dropping it down 30 right now, they're asking for a 2% reduction.
But they haven't accounted for interior landscaping. So
I'm saying what that number is when you at 30, you're going from, 2.5% reduction to 7 or more.
As stated, we try to make up for that time or that loss of landscaping to the perimeter, which we've added additional landscaping to the entire perimeter of the site, along the frontage and on Main Street and on Sienna.
I think that's great. That's awesome. And I understand what y'all are
We
doing.
also have a wetlands location that we will incorporate.
I think the vast sea of parking is an eyesore, and I don't think we need to approve that with this project at this point in time. I understand that it hasn't been required in the past, but maybe you can adjust some of your other landscape island to pick up parking.
Yeah, it looks like up to the north, you've got striping for no parking. That could be utilized, move down further to the rows that you can incorporate some landscaping in.
With the striping, we can incorporate, islands. But it's, what we're having a hard time with is decreasing the stalls that we have already. Decreasing it even more so than what we have requested through this variance.
Well, we haven't accounted for the design factors of the site, so. I mean, I've said what I really feel about the situation. Again, I'm just one guy up here.
Well, there's 3 out of 5 so far that are in agreement, so Tony.
I'm okay with them sacrificing a couple of parking spots for landscape islands. It looks like there could be a little bit of redesign work that can a little bit, few more spots. So the percentage of them losing would be lessened, but I agree, it doesn't need just to be open sea parking.
Okay. I mean, that's 4 out of 5. So we don't even need to. I mean, I would prefer some islands as well. We'll probably argue whether that's 10 or 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you need to give them a ratio so they know what they need to design to, 'cause they'll have to amend their variance request. For a large variance.
I'm with her. I'm with the applicant.
1 second. Let us get through our little discussion, if you will, please. If we went with, I don't know,
You got about 46 in every
I'm okay with the 10 with the additional landscaping they're provided on the frontage.
12.
12, yeah.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that.
yeah, I think it's kind of where I'm leaning as well.
Saying every 12.
Yeah.
So basically no more than 12 stalls in a row without a parking aisle.
I'm Steve Pavlovich, I'm with CEI as well. And we need to go back to our, because, you know, obviously, we're trying to get 17 spaces reduced. If we're gonna have to add 12 islands, that's gonna be by that much more, and we talked about the constraints and whatnot that are keeping us from, you know, getting to the 17, the extra 17 that's, you know, required. So I don't know if there's an opportunity to be tabled or. how-
The best thing is probably for us to table it. We're still gonna have to make a notification, I believe, because it's a change in the request.
If it goes up.
But whether we table it or we deny it, ultimately, you're gonna do the same thing. My preference would be that we table it.
Yeah, I think it'll save them another permit application or a fee, right? Yeah.
There'll just have to be a publication. And so I don't have a number in my mind that says that you're asking for 17. If you come with 24, but you have 12 islands, I'm trying to do all the math in my head. And I think the group has thrown out some, potential other ways to make parking work. And so I would say because a majority have requested the islands, that I don't want to say they would forgive the number of parking spots, but it certainly makes for a different discussion if that's the case.
Steve, are there any other items that might need a variance on them? Like, would it benefit to wait until the large scale plans come, or are you trying to get this ahead of?
The large scale plans are already submitted.
Okay.
Like we're in our second review right now, so we hope to be on the agenda. Yeah, we're scheduled for the 18th now.
Okay, are they too late to make that?
For variances, it's a 7-day notification, so they could still make it.
So concurrently, hopefully with that one, the BZA at the front of that meeting,
Okay.
run that.
Gotcha.
Right. Okay, yeah,
If they can get a solution that's fast enough, yeah.
sure.
And then the
Question, sorry, Steve, do they have to have the solution worked out when they request the variance?
They would have to know how many parking spaces of a variance they need.
I think the ordinance says 10 to 12, and we're talking 12.
Yeah.
This is one for every 12 spaces.
The ordinance just says that the planning commission reviews all landscape plans and can require street trees and landscaped parking lot islands, and the 10 to 12 is a policy we've set. That's what they've required on other large scale. So
I think because we're trying to have the balance between the number of parking spots and such a large mass parking lot is the reason I think the group kind of agreed to 12 instead of 10 in this example versus a smaller parking lot. We have done 10 recently. There's not anything else that we really need to consider than the document because it could change a little bit with the additional request. Any other questions for us or?
is the 12 a hard and fast number, or if they have one or two runs that's 15 instead of 12, is that a deal breaker? So they know how strictly they should try to adhere. I'm just saying that because in my report, when I looked at Chipotle and Tire Plaza, which are two that just recently final, they had one run of 15 that got approved. So
Is it split by like a drive aisle or something, or no?
river runs.
Yeah, it kind of just depends on like how many spaces there were, and it didn't make sense to throw another one in, and then you have one for 8 or something. So,
I think we gave 12 as a guidance is what I would say.
It's different, I mean, you can always propose something different.
Thank you, guys. Then, yeah, with that, then I would entertain a motion to table the variance requests for the parking space reduction for the Walmart Supercenter.
Yeah, motion to table variance 2501 Walmart Supercenter. parking space reduction.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? And then, so our next meeting will be the 18th. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, John. You just wanted to participate.
I had to.
At this time, I will call the City of Centerton Planning Commission meeting to order for February 4th, 2025 with a roll call.
Toby Engel. Kevin Murphy. Craig Langford. Don Sessoms.
Here.
Ed Lewis. Davis. Brandon Swoboda. Jeff Safer.
I'm here as well. All right, first on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our planning meeting of 1/21/2025.
Motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, so second. I didn't know.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes. It's gonna be a long night, guys. Motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? All right, next on the agenda is the ratification of the admin approvals. Looks like there's a track split. That's a replat. There's a track split, and then there's conditional use for the Verizon cell tower. Are there any questions or comments from any of the commissioners or staff in regards to the admin approvals? Then I would entertain a motion for the admin approvals.
Moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Is there anyone that's opposed? All right. Under new business this evening, we do have 4 public hearings. And as we do open it up to the public throughout the meeting, I would ask that you come to the podium if you have a question, comment, concern in regard to any of the business that's open, and state your name, address, and 3 minutes to speak to the commission. And so with that, first item on the agenda is conditional use 2417 Latter-day Saints temporary building at 950 Seba Road. It is 6.98 acres. And is the applicant here, Mr. Bates? How are you tonight?
Very good. How are you guys?
We're doing all right. What you got for us?
They just want to do a temporary building while they're getting their budget and plans together on how they want to expand. The company I've been working with said they've done about a dozen of these and one has never gone permanent, so it really is temporary.
Okay. Ayla?
Yes, so the applicant is requesting a conditional use for a temporary building. The property is 6.98 acres and is located on the northwest corner of Seba and Gamble Road. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has been in this location since about 2006, 2007. The church received a conditional use permit with their initial large-scale development. But temporary is our conditional in all zoning. So the temporary building will be used for additional education spaces for small groups already attending the church on a routine basis. The applicant is proposing to install a modular building adjacent to the existing parking lot and connect to all customary utilities. The modular building is 28 by 68 and is proposed on the north side of the existing parking lot. This parcel is zoned A1 agriculture. Temporary uses in religious facilities require conditional use permits per our Title 14 zoning for A1. The proposed location of the temporary building meets all setback requirements. In terms of surrounding zoning and uses, to the north is Bentonville West High School, to the east is Charleau Estates, to the south is North 40 subdivision, phase 4, and to the west is another parcel owned by the church, which is zoned A1. The applicant is requesting to have this building in place for 5 years and has stated that it's not the practice of the church to utilize modular buildings on a long-term basis on any of their other properties. For the streets, I just wanted to bring this up for future planning. It's located along Seaver Road, which is designated as a major arterial with a planned right-of-way of 100 feet. So this property would be required to dedicate a total of 50 feet of right-of-way to meet the master street plan. There currently exists 30 feet of right-of-way for this property, so they would need to give an additional 20 feet to meet the master street plan. And that additional right-of-way would include encroach into a row of existing parking as well as into the detention pond. And then for Gamble Road is designated as a major collector with a planned right-of-way of 80 feet. So they'd have to dedicate 40 feet to meet the master street plan, and there currently exists 30. So they would have to give an additional 10 feet of right-of-way to meet the master street plan, and that additional right-of-way will either be encroaching into the existing parking or be like right up on it. I just wanted to bring that up into consideration, if they need to dedicate that now with the minor site improvement or when they expand their actual building. For utilities, the temporary building is proposed to connect to existing sewer and water. For parking, Title 14 requires 1 parking space per 3 occupancy or occupants for assembly areas. Based on the occupancy of the assembly areas, which is 621, 210 spaces are required. And then per Title 14 zoning, 1 space should be provided per 1,200 square feet of floor spaces for classrooms. And since that's what the temporary building would be used for, and it's a little over 1,600 square feet, that would require an additional 2 spaces for a total of 212 spaces required. The church's existing parking lot has 227 spaces, which meet the requirement. So for this additional building, no additional parking spaces are proposed. In terms of access, a 5-foot sidewalk is proposed along the temporary building as well as a crosswalk across the parking lot for pedestrian access. For landscaping and tree preservation, there are existing trees in proximity to the proposed location of the temporary building. The trees will be preserved and no additional landscaping is proposed. And then this will require a minor site improvement due to the extension of utilities, sidewalk, and the crosswalk. Special terms we have recommended are for the term of approval. We recommended the term of approval be for 5 years from the date of issuance of the certificate of occupancy, so that their clock doesn't start ticking on the use of this building until they're actually using it. And then it would expire if a minor site improvement hasn't been submitted within 1 year of approval. And then construction of starting within a year of that. And then if the building is damaged or destroyed by 50% or more, conditional use application will be terminated and a new conditional use application will be submitted. Then the other one is that a separate minor site improvement application submittal and approval shall be required prior to any use of this building or alterations to the property. And then we have our typical general conditions listed in the packet as well. Happy to answer any questions.
You seen a picture of what this thing looks like, or like a, how's it attached?
I think it's a, is it like a trailer?
It's like a trailer.
Yeah, it's just a trailer they dress up when they bring in there. Instead, they haven't had one
So
in there more than.
Gonna have wheels on it? What? I mean, you know, is it gonna
I
be,
don't think so.
so
so it's not gonna be manufactured, it's gonna be a mobile trailer? Not manufactured. Manufactured slab on.
Yeah, it's not, it's gonna have wheels, so yeah, it'll just be a mobile, it's actually a mobile modular building.
and so my question then is, does it have to also follow the rules if someone was to move a modular home in and be like attached or something?
Residence. It's just, it's kind of like what we did at the schools. They brought in the portable units. We didn't.
5 years though, is my only question. I'm just asking questions. I mean, if I'm in that building and, you know, a storm comes through, do I care? Do I not care? I'm just asking some questions and whether we would adhere to that or not. I mean, Maybe I'm overthinking it.
Are you saying it's roughly two-year venture to get this?
That's what they said it typically takes. They haven't had one go longer than 2 years before they figured it out, but
Does this require any additional lighting? How come there's no additional landscaping proposed?
it's temporary. Then they'll be add on to the building and have to do a whole new large scale, and that's when they typically dedicate the right of way, do landscaping, sidewalks, dress everything up. Everything there will be torn down and it's just gonna. Sidewalks have to be removed.
And there's some existing landscaping on the site already. They placed it so that they didn't have to rip out any of the established trees.
I mean, if this was, I guess I would feel differently if this was like just for a year while they were building their building, I would feel, but for 5 years with no additional landscaping. And then why, I'm sorry, go back to why lighting? Is there sufficient lighting to be able to meet the need for people to walk back and forth at this point?
There's already parking lot lighting that was approved with a large scale. You know where it's at? Don't it?
No.
It's in one of those islands, you can kind of see it.
See trees.
But when they, I guess, when I think about temporary,
We did 3 years.
Feel better about 3 years.
might get better.
I think it's full. It was 3 to 5 years. I think they actually did it 3 years, then came back in. That was it.
Did they attach to water, sewer, and everything like that, or did they just, drop a building in? I'm trying, it's been a while. so.
But they had restaurants in it. Restaurant.
Look at this, right?
So if they're saying it's typically done in 2 years, then 3 years probably would be more comfortable. 3 years.
Can you say that louder? What?
Yeah, he said if their typical is 2, he feels better about 3.
Kara's gonna pull up the street view for you guys so you can see the site as it exists.
Yeah, they do have lots of trees throughout their parking.
Didn't have it right on the parking lot, but to save all the trees, we pushed it back.
Is that good? Share your screen. I can see it.
Test you tonight since it's your first time.
Then she's probably can move a little speedier than I can, so.
So Tara, can you go north?
Oh, now you gotta turn. Oh, there. Oh.
Lighting at the, you can see the pole.
He's gonna sit there.
Yeah,
North looking to the tree.
yeah.
Looking
So it's set like right here. Yeah.
Are you gonna do some minor site improvement to make it suitable for the,
Can you move up to the parking lot to show the lot?
We have to, we gotta come back with a improvement.
There's a tree in my way. Okay, give me a second.
There's a light.
That's good. That's the light. That's.
There's a light pole right there.
there's a light pole right back there where the walkway would be.
I think I'd like to see, I mean, if you're gonna be there for 3 years, and I know a lot of folks coming in and out there real early in the morning when it's dark. Yeah, I see lighting here, I see lighting there. I'm assuming you're gonna need to add lighting to the building itself, correct?
We'll have some on it, yes.
Would we treat that any differently than we would a normal building that's gotta have lighting and need to?
It's gotta come back through for their site improved.
So you guys could.
Keep in mind, it's not a business, it's a church. There's not gonna be in and out all day, every day.
Yeah.
Every night, it's just a couple months.
Yeah.
So.
Still a place where a lot of people gather.
You guys require a and with your improvement. You want to have, because this is a conditional use, so you guys can add conditions.
Well, I'm just wondering if we
Get
got
it.
3 years, which, you know, may happen and you have to come back and, well, they're not quite ready yet. It'll be a couple more years, 3 more years, you know, I just.
Yeah, and they can probably put some on the building that would help from that perspective. So if that's
just think
something,
about safety.
if that's something we want to consider, then we can, you know, request that as part of the conditional use.
Look at what we do normally for sidewalks for city ones. Basically like 300 feet. They're far exceeding that. Again, it's the one thing I'd look at for that. And then now you gotta run the electric to it. You can run off the building, I'm sure. Then if it's a light pole.
I would
lose its power.
I'd hate to see them have to add a pole. I'm just talking about. Because it looks like there's probably sufficient lighting with the poles. I just want to verify that. And if there needs to be additional lighting to the building in order to project this way, that, and the rest of it's captured by the.
Brandon, are you talking about like a wall pack? Putting wall packs in the building itself?
Wall pack.
On the build,
Just add that as a requirement.
we had to do.
Yeah, I think that's what we're talking about.
I'm sure that won't be.
Okay, so 3 years. Make sure we cover off on the lighting as a requirement.
And I just want to make sure that we are comfortable with, there's sufficient landscaping in front and what even seems to be the side, but there's a pretty exposed back part of the building. Driving up and down the street. We want
They do
something
have a-
temporarily that could.
But there is a grove of trees,
Right.
I think, behind it.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
Yeah, see that grove of trees is,
Well, I think the view he's talking about right here is what he's talking. I agree. I think we should just see something around the building. Just screen it a bit.
There's some shrubs on that side.
greening.
Screening.
So planting trees along the right of way.
Well, the building. No, next to the building.
If they're gonna do expansion, they're gonna pull those out.
That's fine. We're trying to screen the temporary modular building.
You wanna put landscaping in to remove it
Yes.
in 4 years?
They want to put a building on to remove it in 4 years, yes.
Why wouldn't we do
Yeah,
that?
Why wouldn't you put it at the right of way where you'd want things before?
not at the right of way,
Screen it.
around the building. Screen
What do you
it.
think?
Just saying, put them down the right of way.
Oh, so you think?
Yeah, the trees you put in stay, and you
Yeah.
still get screening.
And, but I don't know, I mean, limbs normally start pretty high up on a tree, so. I was more concerned about the modular building. We don't have an elevation, we don't know materials, we don't know what it. That's my concern. I mean, Jeff, you can propose whatever you want. But my concern is the modular building and the view from the back at this view right here.
Well, let's just add some shrubs or greening or whichever you want, if you want fence or shrubs or.
I don't think trees every 25, 30 feet is gonna do. What I'm thinking the shrubs will.
Yeah, so we'll let you be creative on trying to hide the building.
We'll hide it.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and open it up to the public. I think we've been through our discussion, so. With that, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'm gonna make a motion, I'll open the public hearing and CU 24-17.
Second. Motion is second to open the public hearing. Is anyone opposed? So with that, we are now open to the public. If anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns in regard to the conditional use for the temporary building at the Church of Jesus Christ, Latter-day Saints, we'd ask that you come to the podium. Name, address, and any questions, comments, or concerns that you might have. Second call for anyone who wishes to speak. And third and final call. And then I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Right. Any other discussion? We have 3-year term instead of 5, lighting that'll most likely be on the building. And screening on the to hide the building, I guess is the best way to put that.
I think that was it, wasn't it?
There's nothing else, then I would entertain a motion for the conditional use 2417 Latter-day Saints temporary building at 950 Seba Road.
This is Joey, make a motion to approve conditional use 2417. Adjusting the length of time on the conditional use to 3 years. Adding in screening around the proposed temporary building and lighting to go on the building more than.
Motion and a second. Samantha, if you do a roll call for me, please.
E. Davis.
Yes.
Brendan Swoboda,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Ben Lewis. Devin Murphy,
Yes.
John Tessens,
Yes.
and Jeff Seyfarth.
Yes. Thank you. All right. Excuse me. Next on the agenda is also a public hearing. This is for PUD 2402 Featherston Village Park. Park space improvements. This is the southeast corner of Womack Road and Kimmel Road. It is zoned R3 single family for 81 acres. Give us an overview of what you're requesting.
So my name is Dan Cole with Anchor Engineering, and normally you have developments coming to cut costs. This is not the case. We have significant improvements to the PUD over what we were, really centered around the resident and what we wanted to offer the neighborhood for the experience. I think probably the prime example is the main green space. Originally, we had a single route that had more of a naturalistic, more of a wiggly line going down the center. We wanted to create an open green space for residents to, like, basically play catch, throw a frisbee, or maybe after dinner, you want to take a walk after dinner. That loop now we've created offers the residents to have almost like a third of a mile have an increased better circulation for the park space. In addition to that, like you look at the north and south, providing a little bit of meandering to the sidewalks and pedestrian paths, gives a little more sense of community, more calming instead of direct line of sight that you see there. In addition to that, we have increased park structures. So we even came up with not even off the shelf, but custom designed park pavilions that are inside the packet. In addition to that, we have sand volleyball and pickleball we're wanting to offer as well. So it's a substantial improvement, I think, to the PUD. Commend developers for wanting to invest this much into the community above what they didn't have to, wanted to.
Thanks, Dan. Kayla, do you want to give us a staff overview?
So this project is located at the southeast corner of Kimmel and Womack Road. This project had a PUD originally for Featherston Village, which was approved in January of 2020. The final plat for phase 1 was recorded in 2022. At that time, the city accepted a performance bond in the amount listed in your packet. It's $179,000 for uninstalled landscaping and incomplete improvements, which was the trails. That bond expires March of this year, and that landscaping and trails have not been installed yet. So the applicant is requesting to amend the approved open space design within Featherston Village original, which included changing the nature park to pickleball court, sand volleyball, and a pavilion gathering area, redesign the route of the trail to meander instead of being curved through the open space, and then redesign the location of landscaping within open spaces. The acreage of the open space is not changing, just the design within the subdivision. Centerton Utilities is still reviewing the proposed location of the landscaping due to the proximity to water lines. And he was fine with it coming to Planning Commission for approval, and he just asked that you guys add a contingency for their approval of the exact location of the trees. So because this has an approved PUD, but the final plat for both phases were already recorded, we thought it important to notify all of the owners within the subdivision in case they had comments on the way the landscaping and open spaces were changing. So we did have them do certified mail to all property owners within the subdivision. They posted signs along Kimmel and Womack. Typical notification in the newspaper and notices posted around town so that the property owners could come and comment if they so choose. The developer did encounter unusual circumstances when mailing the notices with the post office. However, they went above and beyond to make sure everybody got notices, including having to hand deliver a few of them. And they gave us signed affidavits that they used those notices. It's our opinion that everyone within the subdivision was adequately notified, and we haven't received any public comments. So in your packet, I included their proposed landscape plan and amenities plan versus the approved one, so that you can see the difference in the landscaping and how they proposed amenities. And we're happy to answer any questions. So this one is the proposed clarification.
I like the mid-block connections above the loop. That'll be pretty cool. It's better than just a.
Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we open it up to the public? Okay. Then I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to open a public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing for PUD 2402. Is there anyone opposed? We are now open to the public. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, have any questions or comments in regards to the proposed landscaping adjustment for PUD 2402, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name, address, any questions, comments, or concerns that you might have. Second call for anyone that wishes to speak.
Blake Engelbart, 920 Ventnor Avenue.
What was the name again?
Blake Engelbart,
Thank you.
920 Ventnor Avenue. Am I allowed to like go point at the screen?
Absolutely.
I was just curious as to, are there trees, are these like spiky things, trees? Okay, so I guess this area right here will have trees planted, okay. Was the original design like supposed to have like this as like an open concept with no trees, or?
The main,
It looked like that, okay.
so we've added a little more meandering and the trees through that space.
So the trails were straight originally, and then they just had a few trees.
And the spiky trees are pines, so you'll have evergreens, screening throughout the.
This is.
The plants.
So like, it looks like there's about 8 trees per like, okay.
Just to mention, Tara, can you go to the original landscaping plan? There are additional trees that are gonna have to be planted with this site. With their original PUD, they're required to plant 1 tree per lot, so if you zoom in, Tara. And then they had them along the trails also, but I don't think those changed.
Between, in the back of the,
Keep scrolling.
in the back of the home, there's trees.
Oh, yeah. I see them now, yeah.
Are those intending to still be there?
Correct, yeah, we did not, check all the plans on the individual lot trees,
The open spaces.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. Right.
And does this new design, the ratio of trees that you had originally, is it more in this new design or is it less?
more trees.
Two in every little mid-block crossing.
I guess just to be candid, my only like hesitancy is I kind of like having like the ability to kind of like play spike ball or like toss the frisbee. And so I guess like I would just be nervous about like the trees like kind of decreasing the amount of open space. So I just didn't know if
The whole interior of that
yeah.
track is.
We have all that.
That's kind of what my next question was gonna be. So, because right now it's kind of like just completely
Mhm.
like messed up land. So I'm assuming that will be fixed.
Yeah.
That will be grass.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a pause hat, basically.
Yeah.
That's the number. Thank you for clarifying.
Anyone else have any questions or comments in regards to the requested changes for the PUD.
So, I mean, this is just because I don't I don't know, but is there any kind of a lighting issue with these trails or this open space that it is trails? Did we have that before? Does that required in this?
I don't think there was any before.
Yeah, I don't think there was any before.
And there's no requirement for that at all in any, okay.
Because it's an overall subdivision.
Right.
They would have the required lighting for the subdivision regardless of trails or anything like that.
Yes, I didn't know if there was additional lighting needed when you had a trail structure running through this extensive. If safety reasons or anything of that nature, that was necessary.
We did talk about that, and the main thing is especially with activity courts such as pickleball and volleyball, you encourage late night usage, and you've got some people there, we just didn't want to encourage, past sunset.
I mean, I would encourage you to rethink that on pickleball, but.
That's true.
Just kidding. Okay.
And I'll do the third and final call for anyone that wishes to speak. I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion to close.
Working his way up.
Oh, sorry. Close.
Benjamin Flowers, 890 Illinois Avenue. My question, I mean, it may be kind of, I guess, not answerable. But is there like a time that y'all have already set that that's supposed to get started? Or is it just after approval here that kind of gets clicking?
Well, it sounds like it got bonded for, which means they didn't do the improvements. They posted a bond, i.e. the money to do that, and that's about to expire. So I imagine the staff was putting a little pressure on the developer to get that done. And I imagine that's why Dan's here.
Yeah, I think they have the trees already and they were just waiting for us to say, yes, go.
Okay.
So basically, after this gets plan-wise passed, things move into motion.
They're able to, we don't control their schedule, obviously.
They can
Dan-
probably.
Dan might know more with the contract.
I wish I could control schedules, but yes, the intent is to begin.
We saw the tree out there, so I was like,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you. All right, did we have a motion? I got interrupted, so I will entertain a motion now to close the public hearing.
Well moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there anyone that's opposed? Okay,
I just realized these are all monopoly streets.
Yes, they are.
do you want to move there?
I think I'm.
They are.
Boardwalk.
And Wes is.
Is there a park place?
There is.
All right, so
I noticed it when I reviewed.
we don't need to make any adjustments. Everybody was good.
Yeah.
So thanks for the information. So with that, I would entertain a motion for the adjustments to PUD 2402 Featherston Village.
Motion to approve park space improvements for PUD 2402.
Second.
Motion and a second. Samantha, would you do a roll call for me, please?
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Yes.
John Sessoms,
Yes.
Tony Davis, Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Jeff Safebar.
Yes. Thank you, guys.
Joey, I noticed that the second I could first review these plans, I was like, they're all monopoly.
Hey, Dan, we didn't mention it in the motion, but can you work with Malcolm to make sure that the utilities are taken care of?
Yeah, we'll invest in the field for Malcolm's needs on the water.
Thank you. Thank y'all for coming.
All right, next on the agenda is also public hearing. This is for rezone 2411 KBRB LLC. And their rezone is request from R3 single family to R4 multifamily, lots 1 through 4, lot 5 in the Womack edition. And this is on Main Street. You give us your name and what you guys are requesting.
I'm Daryl Boyle. I live at 14150 Highland Church Road, Fayetteville. And I'm representing the client here. I'm a professional surveyor. And
He wants to make this more economically viable for him, and he wants to put duplexes, maybe complexes, whatever how that works out. But he'll underutilize whatever space is required there. He's looking at 40%. So he's asking for a rezoning.
Can you do that with sewer?
We can rezone right now.
Well, I understand, but. No, okay.
I don't, they would have, they might, but they're doing improvements along through that line.
Be aware of that. You might talk to Malcolm.
I'm sorry?
Probably need to talk to Malcolm about increasing the density and the impact to the sewer system.
Okay.
There's some projects on hold right now due to capacity.
Okay.
Right. Kayla, do you want to take us through a staff overview?
Yes, so this parcel or these parcels are located directly northwest of the Centerton Utilities Office and west of Veterans Park. There are no existing structures on site. It's the intent of the owner to develop the property after rezoning. So they are requesting R4MF, which is high density multifamily residential, which is intended for multifamily structures on a single lot or on a single development with a suitable lot area and a maximum density of 18 units per unit. They could ask for additional density through the PUD process, and then the setbacks are listed in your packet for you. So these parcels are located along North Main Street, which is designated a minor arterial boulevard with a planned right-of-way of 90 feet. On the approved, minor arterials support major roadways and often intersect with major arterials such as Seba Road. The typical street section for minor arterials include 10-foot trails on both sides. For utilities, Centerton Water is available along North Main Street, and sanitary sewer is available to the west, south, or east of the property. Whether or not there's currently sewer capacity is another issue. On the adopted land use plan and the comp plan, this area is designated for medium-high density residential, which is similar to low-medium residential with a higher overall density and consists of detached and attached single-family residential homes with a density of 7 to 11 units per acre. Attached single-family residential can include townhomes or duplex residential properties. These areas encourage greater variety within Centerton's housing stock and allow for more flexibility to build denser residential developments in proximity to the city's major roadways such as Centerton Boulevard and Main Street. These parcels are also included within Node 1 of the Growth Accommodation Plan, which states that this area includes the new downtown center, which should prioritize a higher density of residential infill development using compatible design standards to support the new downtown center businesses. As the core of the city, denser development in this area will help establish and grow the commercial uses the city desires. And just as a note, the proposed innovation center is located just south of this parcel. So based on the current of the comprehensive plan in this area, the rezone request for R4MF may be consistent as it allows for flexibility in creating denser development. However, it's important to note the R4MF zoning allows up to 18 units per acre by right, which far exceeds the suggested density for this area. This parcel is directly adjacent to the new Centerton Utilities Office to the south, which is zone C1. To the north are the Pomeroy Place apartments, which are zoned R4MF. To the east, across the street is Sienna at Cooper's Farm subdivision, which is zoned R2. And to the west is zoned R3D, but it's currently not developed. So based on the surrounding zonings and existing uses, the rezone request for R4MF is compatible. There are a number of items from the comprehensive plan that support this zoning request for your consideration as well. I'm happy to answer any questions.
You know what the density is of the apartments to the north?
I don't, but I can find it out real fast.
Also,
It used to be 12, because that was our max at that time.
also just looking at the property, how wide is that Flagstone portion that comes out to the right away there? It's 30 feet.
Remind me again. just south of the apartments. Did we rezone something there as well for the apartments?
It's shown on here as part of the R4MF, but then they were going to add two buildings.
Two.
actually.
Okay. There's a little bit of dirt disturbed there, I think, today, but I couldn't remember what we did there.
They're stockpiling right now on that site. They're not building.
It's in the R4MF chunk right there to the north, right?
And then there's their lane in the Veterans Park, or what we call Veterans Park. And then another little lot that's looking to go through.
Which is where the house is at?
Mhm.
Okay. And then,
What's the density on the current zone?
R3 SF is 6 units per acre.
Oh, we changed, so I'm a little foggy on this. Is there a multi-family component to R3?
There is a R3 MF. The difference is that each building has to be on its own lot.
And we can't do that here with the 30-foot access to Main Street.
But with R4MF, they could put townhomes or duplexes and triplexes on there. It doesn't necessarily have to be an apartment building.
Sure. But it could be an apartment building. Can't.
They can't put an apartment building on R3MF, but each building has to also be on its own lot, with its own separate.
Talking about R4, can they do a small apartment building?
Could if it fit.
Can you help me understand? It says R4MF may be consistent, but then you say it exceeds the suggested density for this area. Can you help me process that?
Yeah, so R4MF meets the intent of this in allowing denser development on a piece of property, but that zoning does allow for more units per acre than what the land use plan calls for, which is 7 to 11. But I don't think you could get 18 units per acre on this land.
No.
So
Or even close, honestly.
Even within,
No, with the setbacks and the right of way requirement.
Yeah, but Alan said 4 stories, but when you look at the Title 14 setback table, their setbacks would be so large to have a 4-story building on here.
meaning that they wouldn't be able to.
I don't think they would be able to.
35 feet.
It's bigger than 35 feet, I think.
Right, this is just the basic.
A Dropbox, if you
Is
can
it?
pull it
Okay.
up.
That's not it right there, minimum of 35 feet from all property lines?
There, so you go up, the larger your setbacks get.
Oh, based on density?
Actually, I have it.
So within 70 feet off the back.
Have it in there.
I got it. So if it's a 3-story structure with more than 5 units, it's a 45-foot front setback, a 30-foot side setback, a 45 street setback, and a 45-foot rear setback. So you lose the majority of
So
your lot of setbacks. I
yeah.
don't think you could put a whole building on there too.
Okay.
With parking.
It would definitely be a small like development.
Elevator shaft.
Maybe a little bigger than that, but
Just making sure aware of all those. Okay. All right. If there's no other questions, I do want to open it up to the public and we'll go back through and do our consideration. So we are now open to, I'm sorry, I'd entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. Is there anyone that's opposed? And we're now open to the public. State your name and address.
Bill Edwards, I'm the mayor of Centerton, live at 261 Sun Meadows Drive here in Centerton. The only concern I have with this, and I've dealt with it before, this, I just want to kind of explain, this access concerns me.
Yeah.
Because this used to be a street, I believe this used to be called Grove Street, and back in the 70s or 80s, the city vacated this. But they didn't give it to anybody, it was just a vacant piece of land, the property owner did successfully get it, and that's fine. But, you know, it looks like to me, you're going to cut across, this is our city property right here.
And it looks like they're going to cut across, and the concern I have is just one way in, one way out. We're going one way in here. And we're gonna put, 18 units per acre, whatever that number was, that concerns me for the fire department. So anyway, I just wanted to say my piece.
Is it 30 feet, it's like consistently through there? It looks like it might neck down on that.
The street that was here, going through like this, was surveyed by another company. The guy, when he did it, made an error. It was down, and the judge signed off on this property going like this. So we checked with a couple of attorneys to see if this was still in their names, and he said, since the judge signed off on it, he did a quiet title on this, the way it was surveyed. I think there was an error in that survey. So it was in whoever owned this favor. And so that's why it looks viable to go in there. Otherwise, you would have to either get some property here or property here.
Is that a consistent 30 feet?
Yes, yes. The guy.
It's a 90-degree corner.
No. This is drawn incorrectly. It jogs in like this. This corner runs straight into this right here, and this comes down right here, which gives you enough room to go through.
You're saying
So you got 15.
that's not how it was filed? That's what you think the error is, correct?
No, that's what was signed off by the judge from the previous surveyor.
Either way, 30 feet making that turn is gonna be a little.
Well, the second armory is not approved, it's expired, so this property owner does have the opportunity to work with them to get more access.
How far south was their drive?
They didn't have one. They
It's
backed
They
up.
don't have a drive?
Yeah.
We are still open to the public. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, have any questions, comments, or concerns?
Then Joey, I would say with our track splits, with our access typically, if it's like a flag lot, we require 30-foot access easement plus 15 for utility. So I mean, for access, 30 works for flag lots. So it's full 30.
Right. I think the 90-degree corner there is gonna be the problem. Typically, it's just straight through. And we're not putting up to 18 units an acre on it. From a fire perspective, obviously, there's no access. Is it gonna have to be sprinkled?
Absolutely. Yeah. We have city ordinance requiring it already, 3 or more units, it has to have a sprinkler system. That helps them on their access, the one way in, because unless they have 200 units, they don't have to have a secondary means of egress.
30.
What's that?
200, not 30?
No, multifamily.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
So this would be, are these townhomes or are they apartments?
What he's shooting for is, he originally wanted to put 2 homes there. Then he saw, well, it doesn't work out economically for him to do that. So he was hoping to put 2 duplexes, maybe triplexes.
So how many dwelling units total?
2.
So
Dwelling?
Yes.
2 triplexes would be 6 units, right?
Yes.
6 units.
Okay, 2 buildings, 3 units.
That's his plan right now. I realize if you pass the zoning, that it opens up for anything.
That's my issue.
Yeah.
If that's his
If
plan,
you
why are we
did-
zoning?
I mean, if you're not gonna get to 30 dwelling units and you're not getting more than 200
No.
apartment dwelling units, so you're not gonna need a secondary access, they will have to be sprinkled.
Okay.
That's the city ordinance that we've had, you'll have to, it's being required citywide, so. May not like it, but it technically works.
Okay.
The access is gonna be an issue, they're gonna have to have my turnaround, they're gonna have to have the rest of it, and it's gonna be a tight site, but. By code.
Thank you.
And I will do a third and final call for anyone that wishes to speak or have any questions or comments.
Joey, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is there anyone opposed? Let's go through the 5 things that we need to consider. And again, the request is from R3 single family to R4 multifamily.
But before we do that,
Yes, sir.
can I ask a clarifying question, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So to go from its current zone to this rezone would give the homeowner or the property owner the opportunity to have 2 separate buildings with multiple units, correct? Because if they kept it under the current zoning, what we discussed before, they would have to have a lot split in order to do it?
If they wanted to put 2 single family homes, that's correct. So today what they could put on there is 1 home.
Actually, there's 2 lots there now.
It's 2 lots.
So then they could put, so then we're gonna do it.
Lot not have to have right of way frontage?
I think where I'm getting at with this is if we're jumping up here and now opening ourselves up to, I mean, I appreciate. But that you're saying he's thinking about these 2 units and 3, but once we change the zone. It's whatever he wants to do within that zone, which means we could increase units and this and that. And so if that's truly what he wants to do, then and there's 2 lots there, why do we need to rezone it?
He was wanting to do multi-story.
Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Okay, so now,
But then that might be negated and he changed his mind, but we already waded into the rezoning. So that's where we are now.
so there is a possibility of multiple story. Okay,
Then you heard the setback requirements as
I
the
did.
height increases.
good. Okay. I'm good.
Did that answer your question?
Yes, sir, it does. Thank you.
So with that, the first question is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, why? And as was presented, I believe that it is actually consistent with the fact, kind of think about the infill, think about the more dense in the newer downtown area that we continue to work on today. So in my opinion, it is. And I would open up for any discussion for anyone that would disagree or have any discussion.
I agree with you. I think if it were a 5-acre greenfield right off the beaten path there, it'd be different. Just based on the fact of what they could build. I think this one's so constrained based on the property shape and size. I agree with you, Jim.
Okay. And John, I believe if you don't comment that you're agreeing with us, okay?
Yes, that is true.
Is the proposed zoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones? Whenever I look at the compatibility part of it, there's duplex behind and there's R4 already to the north. And then, of course, you've got the city building, which I consider that to be commercial. And there is a single residence today. But there's a request next that we'll consider as well. So in my mind, it does fit in there because of the density that's around the area. And then I would open up for anybody for discussion, or if you guys agree.
It's compatible with what's around it. I would agree.
The next question, would all the permitted uses in the new zone be compatible in this location and surrounding areas? And again, understanding the duplex behind it and the R4 apartments already that exist today near it. And then, of course, the city building, you know, being commercial. I would also say that, you know, the use would also be permitted, understanding some of the constraints with R4 and some other things. I'm going to say that it would also be compatible and open it up for anybody for discussion or disagreement. Agreed. Would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? And I don't believe that this provides a benefit. We would, of course, do the same consideration for each one of the properties. Does anybody disagree with that? And if a public is opposed, why? And of course, Bill brought up, you know, the roadway. I don't call that an opposition. I think it's more clarification than anything. Is it even possible? And why? And so is it factual information? I believe that there will be more that comes out once all the final surveys and some other things are completed. And so that's really the only what I would call opposition that we had to the rezone. Agreed. So with that, are there any other thoughts or discussion in regards to the rezone? If not, then I would entertain a motion for rezone 2411 KBRB LLC. The rezone request from R3 single family to R4 multifamily.
This is Tony, I make a motion to approve rezone 24-11.
This is Ben, I second.
Motion and a second to approve. Samantha, if you would do a roll call for me, please.
Systems,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Ben Lewis,
Yes.
Brandon Swoboda,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Tony Davis, Jeff Safer.
Yes. All right. Good luck.
And just to clarify for you and everyone else listening, this is just a recommendation to city council. So next week it'll go to city council for approval or denial. They're just approving to recommend it to council.
Thank you very much for the clarification. All right, next on the agenda this evening is rezone 2412 at 567 North Main Street LLC. And the rezone request is from R3 single family to C1. Again, it's at 567 North Main, and it is 0.67 acres. How are you tonight?
Well, my name is Akil Dulipra. I'm representing the 567 North Main Street LLC, the ownership of we're requesting this particular parcel or parcels from RESF to C1. So we can utilize the existing property that's currently in place and then turn it into a coffee shop, so it'd be beneficial for our whole community.
All right. You're gonna do.
Yes.
6 million.
Does this not look like something we were just looking at 2 seconds ago? So this is the parcel just east of the 2 parcels in a alley we were looking at before. So I won't go through the spiel of the area again. But they're wanting to go from R3 SF to C1. This is the final parcel in the area because north of this parcel is Veterans Park. So they want to go to C1, which is Central Business District. So it acts as the retail core of the city. And it's possible for the planning commission to approve build 2 lines instead of having large setbacks so that we have a more walkable.
Thank you.
And those setback requirements are in your packet for you. As we said before, this is located along Main Street, which is a major or a minor arterial boulevard. There's Centerton water available along North Main Street, and then there's sanitary sewer running north-south through the middle of the property. So per the land use plan, this area is designated as medium-high density residential, which encourages a greater variety within Centerton's housing stocks and allows for more flexibility to build denser residential developments. And then it's still part of Node 1 on the growth accommodation plan, which includes our new downtown center area. The proposed innovation center is located just south of the property. So based on the goals of the current comprehensive plan, the rezoning request for C1 is technically not consistent, but as we've talked about before in this area, with proposed future updates to the land use plan and carrying our downtown all the way up to Bliss Street, that C1 zoning is consistent with that intent. We went through the surrounding uses already. The majority of the parcels around here are C1 or R4 MF, except for across the street, which is R2. So based on the surrounding zonings and existing uses, the rezone request to C1 is compatible. And then there are some items for your consideration from the comprehensive plan alignments. Packet for you.
And we did receive one public comment via email.
We'll note it when we open it up to the public. Any questions or comments from any of the commissioners before we open up to the public?
I'm sorry, is all this slated for C1?
On our
Is there a different type of commercial? C1's neighborhood, right?
C1 through there.
C3 is neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
The C1s are
Okay.
downtown.
I mean, I don't disagree with y'all. This is the trending to the last area on Main Street that could be commercial. I don't know why you wouldn't do that.
Okay. So with that, I will entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion and a second to open the public hearing. Is there anyone that's opposed? Okay. We did receive one email, as Diane mentioned. Is Denise here tonight? She stated that she would be here, so she lives at 5, I'm sorry. She lives in Sienna Estates. Well, I believe so.
541 Dustin.
Yeah.
547.
And she worried about traffic, the biggest potential concern.
Not wrong.
We are now open to the public. If there's anyone that wishes to speak, have any questions or comments, we'd ask that you come to the podium, state your name and address, and any questions or comments, concerns you might have.
Wendy Hudson, City Council. I just had a quick question. Can we I'm just curious about the parking for that space. It is a coffee shop. And the concern with resident is the influx of traffic. That area right there is already kind of congested. So I don't know that a small coffee shop will really make a big impact, but I'm just curious, the anticipation of how many people are.
So one of the things we don't always consider in any sort of rezone is the parking. We consider the use of the land, and then it's up to the developer or the development afterwards that then has to adhere to the zoning code. So I don't want to say we don't look at parking, but at the end of the day, we look at the intent or the use of the land.
Sure, that'll be a concern that you can talk about more appropriately when the large scale development comes.
Okay, thank you.
Don't disagree with you though.
Anyone else have any questions, comments, or concerns that wishes to speak? And third and final call.
Joey, I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second. Motion to close the public hearing. And second, is there anyone opposed? Let's go through the 5 things that we need to consider. And the first one is the rezoning consistent with the adopted comprehensive plan, including the adopted land use plan? If not, why? Technically, on paper, it is not consistent simply because it is stated for resident instead of commercial. However, as was mentioned, as we go through our new downtown development and design, and our intent through Main Street to have that neighborhood, which is, this is probably part of the next question, but I'm just gonna step back. Technically, it is not. Does anybody disagree with that?
No, I don't disagree that it's not consistent with the adopted land use.
Okay, sorry about that.
Good.
Getting late. The next is the proposed rezoning compatible with the surrounding area and zones. And here's where I would say it is compatible in my mind. You have residential that surrounds it. You have high density residential that surrounds it, and some other commercial in the area. So I believe that it is compatible. Does anybody disagree with that?
No, and I think this is where you were going earlier.
Yes.
Just a second ago. Kind of jumping back and forth, obviously the property to the south, probably not gonna remain R3 single family. And then I believe this would leave one more to the north.
The one to the south is already commercial, correct?
The one to the south.
There was a chunk, south.
Certain utilities.
South is a cemetery.
Was it?
It's not gonna change.
No, either way, that's not changing.
So there's a single family house beside it that is commercial. They
And
rezoned.
imagine it- yeah.
And then you get to the Centerton utilities,
Cemetery.
and then the cemetery.
Either way, I think commercial use along the corridor,
All right.
it's earmarked at, oh my gosh. The road by the Palmer Road. It's
Yes.
earmarked at Bliss. Obviously, it's not going further than that. I think it's appropriate.
Okay. Does anybody disagree with that?
It's getting late.
30. Would all the permitted uses in the new location, in the new zone, sorry, be compatible in this location and the surrounding areas? So, I believe that it would, and we didn't go through all the different things that could certainly be a part of C1, but the design is really to support residential and things like that.
What's the major difference between the C1 and the C3? We talked about earlier?
Basically, they're very similar, except in C, you have to have conditional use.
Some of them, some of the uses.
A lot of them.
Yeah.
Because you're looking at putting them within, I mean, some are like in neighborhoods or in, residential areas, so.
And the one south of it is C1.
Yes, and then the north is the city property that has been designated as Veteran Park, but I don't know what we're going to do with it, but.
One other thing to mention with C1 is that the planning commission has the ability to approve the buildings being right up to the property line along the street instead of being set super far back. So that creates that walkable, you walk on the sidewalk, the building's right there, whereas you can't do that in C3.
So think about downtown versus neighborhood.
Totally. Okay, thank you.
Okay. So that one's okay as a yes. Would the rezoning provide a benefit to this landowner but not be considered for other similar properties in this area? And I do not believe that this provides a benefit to just this landowner. We would do the same consideration for each one of the properties. Does anybody disagree with that? If the public is opposed, why? Are the objections based upon factual information relating directly to this request, or opinion-based? Does any factual information presented apply to this rezoning situation? And again, I believe I would lump traffic, if you will, and the potential for parking as the, you know, the reasons. And I don't think any of us disagree, but we don't have any information that was presented to us around traffic or the patterns or anything like that that happens. And so, I don't want to put that traffic into opinion, but we don't have any facts that we can actually review or see based off of what was, submitted in the letter. Of course, parking comes at a later time. So, that's the piece of information from a public perspective. Anybody disagree with that or any comments? Okay. Any other questions or comments before we consider a motion? Then with that, I would entertain a motion for rezone to 24-12-567 North Main Street LLC with the rezone from R3 single family to C. And this is a recommendation to council.
All right, I'll motion to rezone 2412 at 567 North Main Street from R3 single family to C1.
Motion in a second. Any, may I have the roll call, please?
Ben Lewis.
Yes.
Brian Swoboda.
Yes.
John Chesums.
Yes.
David Davis.
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Devin Murphy.
Yes.
Jeff Safar.
Yes. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, under other business this evening, we have development 2307 Casa Castillo, rerouting utilities. It is at 140 Seba Road, 19.5 acres.
This is just an update more for you guys. This is on the northwest corner of Seba and North Main Street, where they're moving the daycare from right along the road to the northwest corner. And they originally had that PUD for the entire property. Since then that PUD has expired, so they're just focused on this development alone. So with that, they submitted a change order to route the utilities to only serve this development. So we just wanted to bring it to you, to let you know that's what they proposed and staff has approved it, but we wanted to let you guys know that any future development on this property will require additional utility improvements. For the additional.
Do the easements line up? Because they completely changed the location. It's not like they're just stopping here, you know, on the previously approved plans. They redesigned the utilities.
Connect somewhere different, yeah.
Just something.
No action on our part, just information.
It. It's been
Harsh.
oh, it's been through all of the departments review to make sure everything works out.
Discussion on impact fee recommendation and fee comparison.
We put it in your packet in the Dropbox, but I just wanted to make sure that you all were aware that there's been an impact fee study and it's being presented to the council next week for adoption. So
Have they seen it before or no?
they have seen these numbers, yes, but it still has had to go back for the ordinance and for them to actually approve.
Generally, is it supported or? What?
They can answer that better than I can. I mean, mayor.
We had a public meeting at the last council meeting before we wrote the ordinance. We had 3 or 4 people come, had concerns with it. We did also receive an email from a developer. Which, is in the Dropbox if you want to read it. It's not in your Dropbox, it's in the council one. You should have access to that too. So, I'm not sure if it's gonna go or not. We did have the public hearing. The recommendation from the council is we spent a large sum of money for this study and they want to go with what was presented.
Well, you're up next, I think, unless, who's gonna talk about the Centerton Community Center update?
I can you want to, I mean,
I'm not sure what,
Either you or me.
so we're not coming to planning with that. We're just gonna bypass you and start building. We just figured. Just.
Got the trees going.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Already cleared them.
So no, all kidding aside, we are meeting with the architect. We probably have, the last time we had about 35% of the concept done, and we're still working through staff to come up with some, what we want to do. We've also, at our meeting next week, we're going to hire general contractor, construction manager. We did go with Crossland. We did have 6 folks apply. We narrowed down to 3, and we chose Crossland. And so we're going to try to prove that next week. We're also meeting with the site engineer. He wants to talk to us about the project, which will be John Weary. They hired half, so at some point that will come through you guys before we do anything. But we will become. I don't know if there's really anything else
What
there.
was the result of the poll about all the amenities and?
I'm gonna probably let Kayla speak on that, because they worked real hard, Kayla and Tara
We have a whole spreadsheet.
and Diane.
Oh,
There
had to
needed
leave.
to
You had to leave.
I guess what are they,
Anyway.
what are they working towards? There's like pools and.
Yeah, pool.
Yeah, so.
Yeah, I can tell you. So we got a pool, multi-use pool. We'll probably, what we're looking at is one, with probably 2 or 3 lanes in it. Maybe what do you call it? Lazy river? Is that what they call that?
Yeah.
Maybe a kids area with water dumping down on them, a walking track, a single gym, which, we are applying for a FEMA grant to maybe make that a safe place during storms. We don't know if we're gonna get the grant, but we've applied for it. Also, there's gonna be, I think a couple locker rooms with a family change room in there also.
childcare.
Yeah, there'll be a small little child care area in this. All community rooms will be 2 community rooms, two party rooms. When you see it, we'll probably bring it with future phases on it too. We don't want you to approve those. We just want to show you what we want to do next, because what I'm hoping for is, if it all comes within our budget, I'm gonna probably reach out and try to get some more additional funding to add some of the things that might be in phase 2. One of them being an outdoor pool. That won't be in this first phase, just because our money's very limited. But, maybe we'll do that, and maybe a pickleball court or 2 out there. Approved. We started with 26 million, then we had to pay the fees for what we got, so we're down about 25.2. The time you put all this in there, we're gonna probably end up with about a 46 to 50,000 square foot building. Is what we're looking at initially, but it's built for expansion. So we can expand on it, and they'll probably show those phases as they bring it in, not for your approval, just to show you what, so we have a concept we want to do in the future. That's very good. Did I answer that okay? Did I miss anything?
To answer your initial question, the surveys and the boards, I can put the 2 spreadsheets we have with those results. You can see what.
Yeah, I was just curious.
We can't do
They're-
everything, but we're doing our best.
I thought it was a cool poll and I just didn't know how well received it was.
It was over 600 response on the survey alone, the online survey, and then between all of the different board activities we did, hundreds of people. I think there was like 300 or 400 just at the Halloween event we did, so I think we got a good spread of our communities.
We're gonna try to work on, like when we get a concept, get that in the Dropbox for y'all, so that kind of keeps you updated on some of these things going on.
Title 15 update.
Basically, I wanted to talk to you on the completion deposit again. And I did speak with Robbie, the building inspector. Okay, he no longer collects a completion deposit. That was put in, and I actually found an email from 2013 where that was originally put in because there was problems with people who were occupying a building before it was ready. So he started having them hold some money, putting down a completion deposit so that it would be complete before he issued the CBO. But he hasn't had, that was 2013, and when he discontinued, using it, and so, and it hasn't had any problems since. But we did talk, okay, the completion deposit that we need, it would just be for large scale developments. That, so apartment buildings, anything like groups, you know, of buildings on one lot. Anything that's just not on their own lot, single family, and so I mean, we have them separated if they have a development number, considered a development project. This would apply to it. So we need it in order to assure that we have the as-built and the drainage report at the end of the project. We just, finalized Plaza Tire. They requested a final last week, and we had a final on Monday, yesterday. So they're done, and they got the C of O. There isn't really, but we don't have the final so this is why we need just something, and or whether it's a few days or you know, up to 2 weeks. And then after that, if they don't get something to us, then start, you know, have fines in place is what we're proposing. What we did talk about is that the completion deposit. We spoke with Red at Centerton Utilities. And he was supportive of this, is that when they apply for that final inspection, they submit an application, the record drawings, you know, that we use to go out and look at the site, but they should put that completion deposit down at that time. And he was supportive of that. So, the amount is, we wanted to kind of break it down where it was for like the size of the project. But then as Alan and I are kind of going through it, there's a lot of variables. So that's something that I think we should look at and consider. That's the main, that's pretty much it. I don't know if Alan, you want to kind of talk about.
The big thing I'd say is, why aren't we getting them? Is it because the owner doesn't want to pay the engineer, or is it the engineer doesn't want to do it? So, because the big worry is, if the engineer's just not gonna do it because he's not being paid. Then I mean, it's a matter of getting a smaller bond because they have the plans to update for as-built. It's really quick. But if I need to hire a brand new engineer and surveyor to survey even a 1 acre site to then redraw, do as-built, get a drainage report. Even just for like these little 1 acre sites there, like 102, Plaza Tire, Walgreens, Chipotle, they're all right there. They're massive sites, but to get that drawn, it's gonna be like $20,000. So you get a resurveyed, redrawn, all of that. So I don't know.
There's no chance to fix this the correct way where staff works together without imposing extra fees on development, where the CO is not issued until the final inspection is completed, because that happens in every other city in Northwest Arkansas. I just want to hear that that is not an option.
I don't believe it's an option. It's something that we have.
I'm not
Yeah,
casting shade anywhere. That's the mechanism to fix this. And it's much easier.
So at the last discussion we had, was mayor not gonna call the lead to ask, because that's the whole thing, was the fire or building inspector was saying it is this way. To get clarification on him, is his interpretation right or not?
I don't know.
He asked that last commission.
Yeah, I'll come up. So, yeah, the state law actually says that, you know, if it's ready to go, and Paul backed me up on that. If it's safe, it's done, the code, the law says they shall issue the building permit. We could put it in the code if we wanted to, but I think what Marie's proposing is probably a lot better option.
Why do you think that's a better option?
Well,
Increase fees and cost? I don't think that's a better option, Bill.
you can bond it.
But no, don't bond it. Just have your staff work together and solve the problem.
And they are working together. The flip side of that.
They're working together, not building department though.
They are. They just work real to get
Well,
on.
certainly what she just told me is that they're not working together, Bill. He won't,
On Plaza Tire, so.
he won't hold a CO until everybody has what
The
they
law
want.
says you shall issue it.
That's not what you
Not
may.
me.
It's not what any other city does, Bill. So you,
It's a senator.
okay, then let's write some code to make sure that your other staff has.
State law says, not to argue with you, but the state law says you shall issue.
But we can write code to go above and beyond that.
I don't believe you can, but
So you're telling me every other city is gonna get sued?
I'm not worried about that. And like I said,
What are you worried about? This is really upsetting, Bill.
don't get upset about it.
Why?
I mean, we're gonna follow what we've been following. And, you know, he'll issue that when he's safe to issue it. And the fire department's okay too.
I don't agree with this
Okay.
at all.
To answer your question, at the end of the day, as we've stated before, we want to support the fact that we want to get the documents. And if whichever way is the best way to do that.
What are you gonna do for a fee?
Well, we've kind of looked at breaking it down into the size of the development. And whether a lot of them fall between the 0 and 2, so possibly 10,000. But I want to put a caveat in there that some of these fees can be reduced. Sometimes it's so minor of changes that for them to put up, you know, that large of a fee, then I wanted to make a with the mayor would be allowed to reduce that fee on.
So it's
If
gonna be like
it's a big project,
5
where
days?
they have a lot of issues, then it's gonna be, you know, at a higher.
But how do you do that and how do you do that in a reputable way where it doesn't come across as potential favoritism and now there's a legal issue on, well, you know, he knows so-and-so who knows so-and-so, so I, even though they, you know, I have no proof they talked, I can say. And I think that's a potential danger for city.
That's why you would set the fee, but and you would have to have justification for reducing.
So what's the old fee? Wasn't it $5,000 or just as-built?
That's what I typically do.
But I said $5,000 won't do it, so I don't know how to do it, would be more of a incentive to do it. Is it have to be from the engineer? A cash bond or something from them that this is to update their own? And then what happens if they don't? 'Cause my whole worry is that's all it is, cause it's something that keeps the engineer, cause for you to update your own plans. $2,000, but for me to hire a brand new engineer surveyor to survey it, draw it and send them in is 10, 20. So I don't know how we can do that to get that.
I don't think you're ever gonna be able to implement a fee that's gonna cover the cost of somebody new picking it up. I think
without being that high.
If the fee is the option, then I think you have to set it at a fee that's conducive to them completing the work, but not small enough where they'll just eat the fee and not do anything.
We've had that happen.
But this last instance at Plaza Tire, they didn't submit any as-bills?
No, they have. It's just,
They're just
it was a
not-
very quick process and turnaround. So.
Updates to make to it for them to be accurate.
Sure.
So we do get a set of as-bills. We just have the turnaround of review, making sure that they're correct and so.
But they could walk away and.
We don't have approved. Your as-built too.
Again, we're in favor of some sort of solution to make sure that we get them.
Is the $5,000 not?
We didn't start at $5,000. We started at 10 grand. Well, this is just throwing out some numbers, starting at 10 grand for a 0 to 2 acre project. So like Domino's is 1.04 acres. Chipotle is 1.16. Tire Plaza 1.61. So those would fall in that, and so that'd be a $10,000. But now Walmart Oh, you're looking at.
30 acres.
Yeah.
Hey, hey, hey.
31 to 37 acres and playing our scale through, we came up with. Well, no, let's see, that we kind of went up on.
Well, that's the whole thing. Do I need to hire someone brand new to draft up and
Yeah,
create
that's
a
good
brand new
nature.
as-built with, you know, the whole plans, the as-built, the drainage port to go with it? Or is it just, I need engineer to update what they have? Cause for them to update it, there's still a cost to it, but it's significantly less than someone brand new drawings we have as-built.
You're not gonna schedule a final without as-bills though, right?
That's the plan.
So is there ever a situation where this fee doesn't get imposed on anybody, or is this a standard across the board, everybody pays this fee?
That's gonna be the fun part, is that we're collecting this fee and then we have to turn around and refund it. So it's an accounting.
And even
So
bonds,
let me
you gotta
ask you a
get
question.
bond and get recorded and then turn, so it's, no matter what, all of it is a process.
Let me ask this question, since Eric said the fire shall issue the C of O, right, when it's done. Can fire not postpone their final inspection? When they're saying, when the builder says, we're ready for the fire final inspection. In the fire department, can we change the process that they have to pass the planning final inspection before the fire final inspection takes place?
No, that's what we were talking about.
I mean,
And or they
I
don't
mean,
get, they don't get
This is
water,
gonna be an
they
issue.
don't get water until everything.
Actually talked about that.
It's fine, it's building, that fire, just.
Okay, well, I'm saying. Different, so, okay, so the building department, so can they not just say, here's the process? Before you call us for a final inspection, there's steps all along the way through this whole process. In the building department, say, planning has a final inspection before our final inspection.
They don't wanna do that.
They recommend.
Right, yeah.
They
So get record.
recommended that the departments go out and do pre-inspections and be ready. So that at the end.
Okay, okay.
And the reason they won't do that again, clarify that for me?
Because people are ready to move into the building and occupy it and law
There's no reason.
says that Brian, help me out here.
Well,
Everybody in this room
I have
knows
a
the
question.
Occupancy shall.
I mean, obviously I don't. So blame it on the new guy again.
We're not going down there. Okay, I'm just gonna, before we go there, I'm just gonna say we're not going there.
There's no good.
Okay. But, there's,
I'm missing something. Y'all can tell me later.
we can, yes.
Telling you from a procedures point, how we get here to this moment is the applicant turns in their final development application with initial set of as-built. We take those as-bills, we schedule a final inspection. We go out on site. If it's Tire Plaza, their site was perfect. We say, yay, their site's good, but there's some comments on your as-bills that have to be done. And so the building department says, hey, is this development ready for their C of O? And we say, their site is done, but their as-built still have comments. And then they say, great, the site's done. Here's their C of O.
So
I mean, that's a
Tell them no.
that's a bondable deal. I mean, you can bond out, we bond for landscaping. Hey, the landscaping is not complete. They missing 3 trees over here.
But if you tell them that the site's good, if that truly is the case, then apparently somebody has to issue a CO. I'm with you. I think
But
that's
if
correct.
you bond out, you say, hey, it's done, except we got a couple of Ts and Is across on the plan.
But they're still not gonna hold the CO until they get a bond, apparently.
That
They
for
won't hold anything. So procedurally, you should not get a building final until the site and everything else is completed. That's the way to fix this. And it's really easy.
That's what I just said,
I
yeah.
understand.
That's what we have to follow in Bentonville.
Yeah, how does every other city
Don't
get
me-
around the law?
That's how
They
it,
walked
that's how
off
it
and said,
works.
sorry, we can put people.
You don't get a building final inspection until all of the site work is completed.
Yeah,
Everything-
so-
Can y'all
so
not
you're
just tell them
saying-
it's not ready?
So you're
until the
saying all
as-bills
the
are-
other cities are breaking the law?
That's for a list and what's needs to be
Apparently.
updated.
If they don't wanna play ball.
But they have nothing to hold to keep them from getting what they want.
Oftentimes, we have comments on the as-built after we go out to the site to see.
Yeah, you have to go to the site to check the as-bills, so. I really hate to add extra fees and work for accounting for y'all. It seems a little ridiculous. But apparently that's the only option. And so do you make them post a? And now we're back to the amount. Alan, you think it should be more than 5,000?
What is it gonna, and who does it come from?
Come from the matter?
It's what's the bigger thing, cause again, what's that incentive? Cause again, if it's a bond, and in my opinion, it's the cash bond, cause that way it's easier to turn around. Return, but. These are come from to make sure we get that money and get those as-bills. Cause
Come from the engineer. I had one developer that put up the money and then he had no hold over the engineer.
Sure.
To complete the work for him.
It's just a bad deal because a good percentage of your projects are gonna be fine and they can't even get comments until you go to the site inspection. And then they're gonna have to put up funds to guarantee something that because of a city process problem, they can't control. And then they have to go through all that as well. It seems like a lot of unnecessary work, but I guess we settle on a price. I really don't like it, but y'all need a way. What about water? If Malcolm doesn't have the as-bills, he's not gonna like that.
No, they're not.
What if their water meter gets locked?
Well, we talked about not connecting to the water and sewer and he could do that, but there's certain things that the building may need. You know, and also the landscaping irrigation system that, you know, that's testing.
Whether the
you know,
landscaping will die without the
sprinkler
water.
system,
Sure.
so.
What about locking the meter?
They,
If the building does not have potable water and sewer, it cannot be occupied.
Loophole found. Let's do that. Thank you.
Hey, I'll just.
He's just.
Tiny note.
That's all I need, man, apparently.
So moved.
Is that an option?
we need to talk more with Centerton. It was discussed. But we don't know the full, how that would impact their building.
Well, and you lock the domestic meter, not the irrigation meter.
Plus, pardon?
Said you lock the domestic meter to the building, not the irrigation meter. So they can water their trees. They can do that. They're paying their bill. That's fine. But the building's not ready to occupy if they don't have water to it.
They said they could do air testing.
They definitely can.
All right. We could beat this thing for 5 more hours.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you an update on where we are.
Thank you. Speaking of Centerton Utilities, I mean, it looks like a question mark after the letter.
The letter isn't. He will be working on it. He's had meetings, he's got several other ones than just what we have with staff, but every day this week, there's a meeting on the sewer. We haven't worked out anything as far, Bill had a meeting with staff to discuss releasing projects for construction. A lot of backlog of projects. Indicators like we can't take. He's even upset when we approve a final plat that has ADH approval. So there's still a lot of things to work out. So I wanted to give you that update and we've got meetings Thursday and Friday.
Same.
We'll keep you updated.
Okay, more to come. There's a council meeting on 2/11. What I can tell you is we did our interviews and finished them up and selected a candidate that'll be before the council on the 11th. do have a planning commission meeting the 18th. I will not be here, so you guys will be here till 10 or 11 o'clock. I apologize.
Be a quick one.
But I don't think you've looked at the agenda, from what I understand, so. But I will not be here on the 18th, so. Anything else? I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Motion is second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you, guys.
So